Today we're going to work on fixing his TFL. He's been here, this is his third session, his third week. He originally came here for a shoulder pain, but he also has hip problems. And I always tell people, in order to fix your shoulders, you also have to fix the hips. The rotation of the hips, the strength of the hips. If those are weak, it's going to go up in your low back, it's going to affect your thoracic. So the hip issues are also connected to the shoulder. What I say is 80%, no, maybe it's like 5–10%, but it's still an issue. But he's had all sorts of, ankle breaks or sprains. And just talk about like the pain in your hips and what you feel generally.
Well, like you say, I have a history of just injury in my legs. Almost my hips feel like sometimes they're popping out of socket, even though I guess it really works that way. But
more like there's pressure
right in this area.
So if you look at the side, turn to the side. So like right at the edge of the TFL, right here. Okay, so on both sides. And it affects you walking. And if I'm pointing my feet inward almost and do anything, it feels like I'm getting stabbed. Really, it's getting stabbed by a knife.
I guess it's just a spasm. I don't know.
It's just tight. So if the glute medius and minimus are weak, then the TFL is going to overwork, because the TFL is also part of abduction, and it's also part of hip flexion, and it's part of medial rotation. And what are the main medial rotators? The glute medius and minimus. So if those are weak, TFL is going to take over and dominate. So that's what's happening in his case. So let's just go through, and how are you feeling now? We're on the third week. Does it feel less pressure?
I haven't felt pain there actually since we've been working together.
And you're going to see he got to a pretty high level quickly on this. All right, so let's go to your left side first. You just did your right. What we do is we just want a little bit of bend with this leg here. If this leg bends up too far, go ahead, bend it up in front of you. It's going to be really hard for him to keep this angle of his hip. Go ahead and lift your knee. It's going to want to move back. Okay, so now extend the leg a little straighter. So just a tiny little bend, and then your back of your heel here, just be on the back edge or a little bit behind there. You don't want to get it, go ahead, too far back. You don't want it like that, because that's going to take away also from the exercise. You're going to use more of your low back. So just a little bit of bend, and then look at that heel. It's right in line, or a little bit behind the back of the butt. We're going to dorsiflex his foot. That's key too. If you point, you're not going to get as much in the glute. You got to dorsiflex for whatever reason. Now, you can use an ankle weight, or you can just balance the weight there. Now, here's the other key to this. Push your butt back, and stick your chest forward there, and then let that relax back. So if you look over top here, look at that C shape we're forming here. If he, go ahead and fold this way. If he goes like that, you're not going to lock this hip down as much, and this hip's going to want, you're going to see it kind of roll back a little bit more. You're not going to connect as much. So push. So stick your butt back, push your chest forward to form that. Now he's perfect. And now go ahead, and if you move back now and go a little lower, and we're going to look at the hip angle here. So now, go ahead. Right there. You see how the hip did not move? And back down, and up. So the goal is to try to get your knee to the top edge of the hip here without this moving backward, and only feel it in this area here. Half moon shape that I talk about, right? If you squeeze your butt together, is that dimple? You want to feel it right through there. Go ahead. So we're just connecting into that. That's how high you can lift, and you feel that contraction. Dorsiflex. Dorsiflex, yep. Feel it. When you dorsiflexed, was it more intense? Yeah. Now point. Less intense?
Yeah, it's like I'm cheating.
Exactly. So that's why you got to dorsiflex. Good. Feel? So the goal is, go ahead. He needs to get it about that much higher, feeling his glute. Some people have the flexibility automatically, but they don't feel the glute work, and they feel their TFL, or they feel their hamstring. And so that's a good sign, like, okay, you got the flexibility, but you don't have the strength. So you still got to start low. Okay, let's do the other side. Good. So I'm going to form that C shape. I'm going to drop that knee down. Now, another common mistake people make is when they drop the knee down, they'll keep their butt back here. A good way to think about this is slide your knee like 2 inches forward onto the mat. Look what that does. Keep sliding. You see how it turns the angle down. So look, if this is square, okay, you're going to be about I'd say 3 or 4 inches this way. That's what we're looking for. And we're going to pull this back. Some people are so tight you actually have to start them here. Go ahead and then lift up. And maybe they just start and they hold that. But rather than trying to get up higher, with some clients, we start them here for a couple weeks and then we start trying to work their hip down. But he's pretty good, so he can start right there and then form that, push that. Yeah, go ahead. Up and down. So what is this? This is a better way to basically do a clamshell. The problem with the clamshell is when people do it, they don't actually lock their hip down, so their hips move all over the place here, and you wind up getting some of the medius, but a lot of the TFL, and you also get a lot of rotators. When I push this hip downward and I arch, now when the hip lifts, when this knee lifts, the hip medial rotates in. So we're going to get pure abduction. That's basically what we're doing. Pure abduction, pure glute medius, a little bit of minimus. There's another exercise that really focuses on the minimus. He doesn't have much thoracic mobility in his spine, so that's why else we're going to work on his shoulders. Got it? Right to there. And if you're doing it right, it'll just stop and lock, and you won't be able to get it up any higher. Right there, did you feel that? If you go down a little lower, babe, so they can see the height. So if it just stops and locks, that's how high he can go. Everything's locked down. Now, let your back relax, and now watch how much higher you can go. You see? Now arch, and if you get up, good. So when he arches and he keeps that C shape in his back, then it locks the hip down more and it makes it harder to lift higher. So that's a good. So this is one. We have actually have 5 total leg and hip exercises. We have another one specifically more for the minimus, where we focus more on medial rotation. We have one for the groin. We have another one specifically for knee injuries. And then we have one for the hamstring. We're just showing you this one, but all those together combined can form those 5 exercises form our complete lower body system. And then we have 4 for the shoulder and 3 for the core. We have an app where you can work with me, which is probably the best way to get yourself fixed, is working with me personally, so you can really learn the ins and outs of this through either video call or if you come see me in person. But video call is really good. We can do a good job through video call. And so just keep that in mind.